And of course, the founding of this country is also a founding violence against most of the white men who were living here too. Because most of the white men did not own sufficient property to actually legally be a person. At best, many were actually literally indentured servants who had masters of their own. And others were at best second-class citizens, right? Only 93 to 95%. Are you kidding me? That's all? The overwhelming majority of the adult population were not legally persons. In fact, no less a historian than the late, great Howard Zinn, and may the goddess rest his soul. Howard Zinn is famous for saying, you know, you can see history through many different lenses. And a very important lens to see American history is by a series of struggles by actual human people to become legal persons under the Constitution so that they could claim the rights associated with it. So some people might say, all right, Cobb, you've got a scathing critique about imperialism from 500 years ago. But hey, man, today women can vote. We got rid of slavery. It's all good. To which I say, au contraire, mon frere. It ain't all good at all. And that's because it's time to reintroduce the concept of the corporation. Because I hope this is helpful to you. I mean, does this framework kind of make sense about how this is supposed to operate? Yeah? Good. I'm glad that it's helpful. And if I'm correct that there is a difference between being sovereign and being subordinate, if I am correct that there is a difference between private and public, if I am correct that there's a difference between rights and duties, and I am, it behooves us to ask, where then would a corporation go on this framework? Well, here's a way to ask that question. Who knows what it takes to form a corporation today in California? Not even very much of it.
No, I formed one.
You formed one, Orville. How much? Do you remember how much it cost?
$800 a year.
$800 to the state. So, and you can do it even a little cheaper if you do everything on your own. But it's about $125 plus other fees if you actually choose to pay them. But it's actually, let's just say $125 to just form a corporation. And as long as you fill out the form properly, as long as your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed, what will and your check cashes, what will the Secretary of State do? They will rubber stamp and create a corporation. How will they do that?
Rubber stamp.
A rubber stamp, it's a charter. They issue you a charter, and that literally gives body to the corporation. By the way, how long can your corporation last in California?
Eternity.
Forever. As lawyers like to say, in perpetuity. That's so we can charge $250 an hour to say in perpetuity instead of forever. What can you do with a corporation in California? According to the California Corporation Code, there's an actual term of art, for real. Anything that is legally permissible. Some of us say, well, if I'm paying attention, apparently you can do a whole lot of illegal things and still get away with it. But the point I'm making right now is to understand that creating this entity, this concept of a corporation today, is incredibly easy. It can last forever. You can basically do anything with it. And if you're greedy and selfish enough, and if you're willing to, you can amass great power, great wealth, and you can even facilitate the destruction of the planet, commodify the earth in an effort to accumulate ever more wealth and power and resources. Now, let me ask you, in 1789, do you know what it took to form a corporation? Watch this. You had to get a bill introduced in the lower house of your state government, and that bill had to pass by a majority. And then that same bill had to go to the upper house of the state senate, and it had to pass by a majority, and then the governor had to sign it. Does that sound like anything that we know of today? A law. Right? That's the process of enacting a law. Has anybody in this crowd ever worked on trying to pass or repeal a law? I have. Danny, I know you have. Let me ask this question. How hard is it to pass or repeal a law?
It's hard.
Yeah. In fact, Orville, we've got a term of art in law. We call it real damn hard. I mean, it is incredibly difficult. So the very process of creating a corporation for the first 75 years of this country was very tightly controlled. And not only that, get this, in order to begin that process, you had to prove that there was a public need in society that was not being met either by existing you had to prove a public need that was not being met by existing private business or by some governmental action. We're going to say that a corporation actually should be moved and thought about on this side of the line. That a corporation should be considered a person with rights under the law. It perverts this whole framework. Corporate personhood is not just a bad idea, which it is. Corporate personhood is not just illogical, which it is. Corporate personhood is not just legally indefensible, which it is. The concept of a corporation claiming constitutional rights allows corporate lawyers to go into court and overturn our democratically enacted laws that we work like hell to pass. And it's not just campaign finance laws, as in the Citizens United case, which was atrocious. It also involves the ability of corporate lawyers to overturn environmental protection laws. Corporate lawyers have also overturned public safety laws. Corporate lawyers have also overturned worker protection laws. Corporate lawyers have also overturned public safety laws. The principle of a corporation being able to claim constitutional rights is a linchpin for how a small ruling elite have literally hijacked our country. They have hijacked our political process, and then they have legalized that hijacking. The theft of American democracy has made it impossible for we the people to create the world that we so richly deserve and so desperately need. And so we need to build a movement in this country that will take ourselves about power seriously and claim our sovereign right to define our own society. And the only way I see to do this is to build a movement that will address the U.S. Constitution at its core and say only human beings have inherent inalienable rights under this document. We the people are sovereign, not corporations. And so, thank you for that applause. So if you want to join this movement, I'm going to pass this petition and ask that you sign, and it's very clear. It simply says that we the people of the United States reject the Supreme Court's ruling and move to amend our Constitution to firmly establish that money is not speech and that human beings, not corporations, are persons entitled to constitutional rights. It's very simple. And it's a movement that is gaining ground. Can anybody guess how many times the mainstream media, or what I more accurately call the corporate media, has covered this movement?
Zero.
Never? Zero? 132,000 people have already... That's good, right? I've never been part of a movement that was moving so fast and been so exciting. So as this comes around, I will invite you to please add your name to that petition. And if you don't want to join this movement, I promise you I will not be personally insulted. Just pass it. Hold on. I see. Just pass it. I mean, I'll be surprised, but I won't be insulted. I will say this. If you're going to sign it, I have one request. Please print legibly. As an organizer, there's nothing more disheartening than to see somebody who wants to join and you can't get back in touch with them. The second thing, and I'm going to answer your question, I bet, Judy, already. The second thing is, if you've already signed this, you don't need to sign it again unless you want to join Bill. Stand up, Bill. If you want to join Bill in forming a move to amend affiliate in Ojai. Because if you want to do that, and you've already signed it, sign again and then put an asterisk. And if you haven't signed yet, but you'd like to join as an actual organizer, put an asterisk. Does that make sense to people? In other words, if you just want to join but say, I really don't have time to be part of a movement that'll take my country back. I mean, I don't mean that, I'm sorry. I swear to God, I did not mean it like that. Let me try it again. If you say, look, I want to be involved, I support it, but I can't take on the day-to-day organizing activities, just please do sign it, and we appreciate that. But if you're going to say, you know what Cobb says, what the Move to Amend Coalition is doing is so powerful, I actually want to join Bill in figuring out how in Ojai we can actually make this happen. Then put an asterisk next to your name.